Dead No More, Patient Zero, Chapter 17, A Doctor Who Fights. Well, said Cisco with a heavy southern accent. It looks like our guests have finally arrived. You were expecting us? I asked. Why, after Cyrus here told me about your little run-in, I knew you'd come find me, he said. Now, what can I do for you? Well, I understand that you have some friends and a serum, both of which Eli has an affinity for, I said. Woohoo! Listen to the big words. You got some mouth on you, boy. Now I think you better shut it 'fore you get hurt, Cisco said. Well, it seems that is your business, isn't it? Hurting? What do you have here, a little fighting match? I asked. Are you laying odds? You know, bets? Well, damn. You got some balls on you to walk into another man's house and bet him, he said. I'm just looking for an opportunity, I said. What kind of opportunity? He asked. Well, if you were a betting man and you had faith in your fighters, I'd challenge you to a 4-on-4 fight in your arena here, I said. Again, you follow? He asked. Yes, and if we win, we get the girls and the serum, I said. What do I get if I win? He asked. Why? 4-on-4? And what do I get if I win? He asked. Why? What do I get if I win? He asked. Why? Your man in control, I said. Why? He asked. 4-on-4. And what do I get if I win? He asked. Why? Your man in control. And what do I get if I win? He asked. Why? I instantly deleted the message again after I talked to you in the archives and cut him off. For an instant. Never wanting or incomprehensible fight in matters. For an instant. Never wanting or incomprehensible fight in matters. For an instant. Never wanting or incomprehensible fight in matters. You get me, I said. What is that supposed to mean? He asked. I ain't no fancy pants fruit booty. Well, it means that everything in that vial is based on my research and work. It means that Eli is alive today because of my abilities and the treatment that I administered. It means that a cure will not happen without me, I said. You a doctor, Den? He asked. I am, I responded. Den, why are you fightin'? He asked. Because I have no other choice, I said. Now, do we have a deal? Or do you not have any faith in your bitches? I mean fighters. I tell you what, if you lose, I'll keep you and kill the rest, he said. The only way I lose is if you kill me, I said. I like the cut of your jib, boy, he said. You got a deal. Okay, look, this is not like when we train or spar. This is for real and for keeps, I whispered to Joshua, Jojo, and Tank. Jojo, there are no rules here, no points either. You cheat, you gouge, and you throw dirt if you have to in order to win. Joshua, cut loose, and Tank. Smash. I removed my jacket and limbered up, readying myself for an adversary I had no time to size up. I was also nervous having these three kids fight in a life-and-death situation. But nowadays, every day is a life-or-death situation. I just hope Leon, Andre, and Gerald got all of that on the comm. We walked towards the center of the park, where the grass had receded and there was nothing but dirt. Jojo looked nervous, Joshua looked excited, and Tank looked bored. I had the three of them kneel as I said a prayer of protection in Japanese. Are weapons allowed in this fight? I asked. Yeah, handheld weapons like bats and knives, said Cisco. But no guns, 'cause that's cheating. Joshua was good with his staff. I opened my bag and pulled out a pair of nunchaku and handed them to Jojo. Do you know how to use these? I asked. He nodded as he took them. He held them so tight his knuckles were white. I looked at Tank as he slammed his taped fist into his massive palms. "Yeah, you're good," I said to Tank. 4 guys approached the dirt area in the park. One of them was huge, but not as big as Tank. The other 3 looked like they were moderate in size, but capable fighters. We circled each other as they grinned and made light of the doctor and his misfits. We stood ready, and then Jojo yelled something to Tank. Tank, they are bad men, and they want to hurt me and our new friends," Jojo yelled. It was amazing. Tank actually had a physical manifestation as he changed from his docile hulking mode to that of a savage. He charged the 4 men as 2 scattered. The larger of the 2 was caught flat-footed as Tank ran right through him like a linebacker through a kicker. There was a sickening thud as his head poured out viscous fluid as it bounced off of a rock in the dirt. As the other 3 reacted to Tank, Joshua leapt into action and struck one on the side of the head with his staff. The sheer force caused his neck to snap, and he was down for the count. The other 2 began to retreat as Cisco stepped in front of them. "Well, it looks like these fellas want to run," he shouted. "Y'all know the drill." A box truck backed up to the dirt area. The 2 fighters ran up to it and pulled up the door as half a dozen DCs stumbled out towards us. Tank had recovered and ran headlong right into their midst, punching and shoving. "Okay, fellas, we can't let Tank have all of the fun," I said to Joshua and Jojo. They took off cracking the heads of each DC that got close enough. I stood there like a proud father. Then I heard it. That sickening gurgling sound that they make. The guy who had his neck broken by Joshua had reanimated. In one swift motion, I unsheathed my sword, cleaved off the left side of his temporal lobe, shook off the blood and reseated my sword in its sheath. I ran towards the last 2 DCs as they stumbled past Joshua and Jojo and jumped with my knees forward as I landed on their respective faces to a thud as they caved under my weight and the force of the contact. I looked up at the 2 remaining men by the truck. "You boys let me handle these 2, I said. I tossed my sword to Joshua. "Hold on to that for me, son," I said. "Ooh, this is going to be good," said Joshua as he addressed Jojo. "You're in for a treat." I stretched and flexed as I approached them. The first guy wildly telegraphed a haymaker punch. I let him land it as I recovered from the blow and looked him square in the eye. "Really? That's what I'm up against? Are you ready to die?" I asked calmly. Again he swung wildly as I stepped back, and he missed. He followed that up with a front kick, which I sidestepped and kneeled as I caught his leg on my shoulder. I stood quickly as I gripped his ankle while still on my shoulder. The sight of a man, approximately 5 feet 8 inches, with his foot on the shoulder of a man, 6 feet 4 inches, as he stood tall, was almost humorous. The second guy ran towards me from behind as he swung a bat. I pivoted inwards so that the only thing he made contact with was the now stretched groin of the other assailant. The first man fell to the ground unconscious from the blow. The second man took a second swing, but the bat met the bottom of my foot as I forced it to the ground. The man grabbed me at the waist as he rushed me, and his nose met my knee as blood splattered over the field, as the cartilage from his nose penetrated his cerebral cortex. "Cisco, all of your fighters are down, with one remaining alive," I said. "Do we call this a victory, or do I have to kill him too?" "You ain't one shit," he said with a snide look on his face. "You think I'ma let you just waltz in here and take what's mine?" "We had a deal," I said. "Fuck that deal," he said, as his men chambered rounds in their weapons. "And here I thought we were civilized men," I said as I picked a piece of brain from my knee pads. "Yous fucks isn't mine. I'll never lose another fight, he said as he grinned. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to disagree, I said. I have all the guns you chop sake motherfucker, he shouted. All of a sudden, approximately 36 armed men poured out into the field, led by Cyrus. Watch out, Cisco, shouted Cyrus. I'm certain that prick has snipers set up somewhere. As if it were on cue, bullets began striking the ground to deter the armed men's advancement. Joshua, Jojo, Tank, find cover, I yelled. Cisco and Cyrus jumped behind a bench as the rounds struck the wood. So that I understand this, you're welching on our agreement, Cisco? I yelled. Fuck you and dem kids, shouted Cisco. Storm Shadow to dock. The packages are secure, said Leon on the comm. Let's be reasonable men here, Cisco, I shouted. That vial is worthless to you without me. If you give it to me, I promise on my honor that I'll share whatever becomes of it with you. You think I just done fell off in the turnip truck last night, boy? Cisco yelled. The only way you get dis here vial is out of my cold, dead hands. Be careful, boss. He'll kill you, said Cyrus. Shut the fuck up, Cyrus. Dis here is your fault, he yelled. You lead him to my doorstoop. Boss, I would never began Cyrus. But Cyrus Solomon Gold would never finish that sentence, as Cisco plunged a knife into his heart. Now let's see if this shit works, said Cisco. He uncorked the vial and poured a little into Cyrus' mouth, just as he was going through his final death throes. Again, a shot rang out as Gerald's scope found Cisco's left lung. He lurched forward as the vial flew from his hand, splashing some of the solution on his face. I lunged forward to grab it as some of it got in my eyes and mouth. The last thing I remember was the shots increasing as the APC crashed through their gate, and a searing pain in my chest as I fell to the ground. Then there was nothingness, just a black void. Eternity. Is this death?